Here's the skinny. Jay is a former Toronto police officer with 24 years under his belt. However, since retirement, Jay has become a major thorn in the side of the Toronto Police Service. The reason? Well, he has gone on to form a company called Mad Lab Press. The mission statement of Mad Lab Press is simply catching Toronto police officers on video behaving badly.
So on Friday, October 4th, at around 12:30 in the afternoon, I'm driving up to Toronto. It takes me about 2 hours to get into the city. And while I'm driving, I'm listening to a talk show host talk about how brutal the traffic in Toronto is. So I'm driving up Mount Pleasant Road, approaching St. Clair, and it happens to me, stuck in traffic. It seemed like forever. So as I approach St. Clair, and all these weasels are trying to get in ahead of me, I see Toronto's finest, a Toronto police pay duty officer, not directing traffic, but sitting in his car on his cell phone. Okay, so what we're seeing here is Mount Pleasant Road, and the traffic is traveling northbound. And you can see it's backing up quite a bit. It was worse when I was there. Now this one shows the police officer sitting there, and you can see his car with the red arrow. And then the car behind the first car in line, right there, with the other curved red arrow, can't get around any car making a left-hand turn onto St. Clair Avenue. As you can see here, the car cannot get around this guy because the cones are in his way. And this guy is just sitting in his car on his phone. So what I did is I found parking. I got my GoPro out. And I went and I filmed the guy sitting in his car. And I wanted him to see me filming him. And the reaction I got was pretty funny. Now these cars that these guys have for pay duties, they're traffic cars, and it starts with a 6.9. So anytime you see one of these cars, it's either a traffic car or the person or an officer is on a pay duty. So I guess the only way to get these pay duty officers to work is to film them. As I'm filming this officer, he sees me. He puts his little chapeau on, his little hat, and you'll see what happens next. Now he gets out. Now he gets out. That's funny. Now, this isn't a bad gig. Okay, so for a police constable, they get $90 an hour and they have a 3-hour minimum. So that means any company or anybody who hires a Toronto police officer has to pay them $270 just for showing up. Now, the officer might only work for 30 minutes. A lot of times when I did paid duties, they cut me after 10, 15 minutes, and I get paid the full amount for the 3 hours. So think about this. If this guy works 8 hours on a paid duty, which is pretty normal for a paving paid duty, this guy's going to make $720 for sitting in his car on his cell phone. Unbelievable. Well, that's not the last of it. So if a police officer shows up and they use a police car from the Toronto Police Service, the company has to pay them additional money. Now, since being in the public sector and meeting a lot of people since I started my channel, and not just in Canada, but in the UK, in the US, and in Europe, actually. And I've met a lot of amazing people and great minds that are IT experts, and they can find anybody just through an IP address. And that's exactly what I'm going to do to these cockroaches who keep threatening me and sending me these type of messages, like this one from @MrLuck3218. Maybe we should all find out who they are and send them a message on their YouTube channel saying hi. Tell them hi from Mad Lab Press from me. But little do they know that I have a $6 million lawsuit against the Toronto Police Service. So keep sending me your threatening emails, and my IT guys are going to find out who you are. And I'm going to hold each and every single one of you accountable. And you will be on my channel. I can guarantee you that. So this actually makes me feel good to show the public exactly what these guys are about and how they treat people, how they treat fellow co-workers, how they treat people that they used to work with, and how they treat people that have mental illnesses, PTSD. These are the people that are patrolling our streets, guys. These are the Toronto police.
Well, folks, meet my guest, Jay. Jay doesn't want his surname used, and we are blurring his identity. More on that later. Here's the skinny. Jay is a former Toronto police officer with 24 years under his belt. However, since retirement, Jay has become a major thorn in the side of the Toronto Police Service. The reason? Well, he has gone on to form a company called Mad Lab Press. The mission statement of Mad Lab Press is simply catching Toronto police officers on video behaving badly and, in some cases, actually breaking the law.
I got a question for you guys. Are you guys allowed to park in a loading zone, no parking, where everybody else gets screwed in tickets? What's that? You don't know. So if I park there, how much would my ticket be? You don't know.
And sadly, there is no shortage of material for Jay these days. But for being such an observer, Jay says he is routinely harassed by the police. And more recently, his content has been censored when police complain, even though there is no breach of privacy, nor are there copyright infringements in his video reports. But Jay is not bending the knee. Rather, he is fighting back by continuing his coverage of Toronto police officers behaving badly and serving the force itself with a lawsuit. Well, Jay, thanks so much for coming into the studio today. I've watched your work on Mad Lab Press. And before we get into that, a little bit of background. You yourself, you were a police officer with the Toronto Service for almost a quarter of a century. How did things go a little sour? How did things not necessarily end with a happy ending?
Well, the Reader's Digest part of it is, like I said, I was a police officer for 24 years. And in 2017, I suffered an injury to my leg where it put me behind a desk for the rest of my career. So I couldn't police anymore on the streets. So I was put into an office called the CISU, which is a report office at 53 Division. And during that time, I was constantly harassed. I was bullied at work, which led to an assault by a fellow officer.
Wait a minute, let me understand this. You're being harassed and actually physically assaulted because?
Because they think that officers that have been injured and stay inside of the police station are milking the system, and they resent them for not being out on the road like they are.
But you had a physical injury.
I did.
You could not go out in the field, so to speak. So, I find this absolutely fascinating. I've never been employed by a police service, but I guess this wasn't so much a personal attack. It's kind of like a systemic thing. If you have a desk job, for whatever reason you're resented and you get bullied, you get physically assaulted?
It wasn't just me. There was probably 5 or 6 people in my office that went through the same. Not as bad as me.
You have filed a human rights complaint, I understand, and you have filed a lawsuit against the police. Briefly, can you tell us what the basis of those claims are?
Well, first of all, for the human rights lawsuit I have against them, it's breaching my rights. I have PTSD and I'm being diagnosed with it, and I tried to get back to work. I did everything in my power to try and get back to work, and they stopped me at every single corner. And finally, when I was ready to come back to work, they ended up trying to transfer me somewhere else, transfer me out. And they kept the people who were the actual suspects and people that were bullying me at that station still. So they punished the victim and then rewarded the people who were doing this to me.
Incredible. And of course, folks, there's two sides to every story. And I don't know if I told you this, Jay, I did reach out to Toronto Police Service Media Relations. Not only no reply, but not even an acknowledgement of my inquiry. So we've tried to get the TPS side of the story, but they're not interested. Now, let's fast forward, and suddenly you find yourself doing, well, I guess you could call it citizen journalism.
Right.
You go out into the public with your cell phone, and you start recording the police, which is your right. There's no expectation of privacy when you're out in the public.
Yep.
And you don't, of course, interfere with an arrest. That would be a criminal offense.
Yep.
And but it looks like the police, am I exaggerating here when I say they might have a vendetta against you for doing this? Why don't we throw to this video? It's where you're pulled over by no less than 3 police cruisers because you have a license plate holder that's tinted too darkly.
Yes.
Here, folks, check it out.
The reason why I stopped you today is because you have a dark tinted plate cover obscuring your license plate. I need your license number for insurance.
You're blocking traffic too, eh?
Well, I spoke with that driver. He said I wasn't obstructing his way. He was looking to
Well, it
park
looks
anyway.
like it. Looks like it to me.
You can create whatever narration you like. I already confirmed with the
Listen,
driver I wasn't obstructing.
Give me the
his path.
ticket. I don't answer questions. Okay? Give me the ticket, and I'm done answering your questions, okay?
Okay.
You've done all your checks in your car and your MWS and everything.
This
okay?
is your choice to act this way.
Act what way?
How you're acting.
You're harassing me.
I'm
That's
not
what you're
harassing
doing.
you, sir.
You saw me recording is what happened.
Yeah, I sure did see you come across.
And the
recording.
reason why you stopped me is because I was recording, not because of my license plate cover.
No.
Because you never saw it.
No, because recording isn't illegal. So the license plate cover is illegal.
But you didn't see it. So what you're doing is you're harassing me. It's all on body cam. Okay, I have
You're
body
right, it
cam.
is on my body cam and your plethora of cameras that you have.
Yeah.
Now, Jay, there's 2 things here. First of all, to me, for such a tiny Highway Traffic Act violation, that seems like overreach. It's the proverbial killing a mosquito with a bazooka. Secondly, I can't help but notice the title of this video is Toronto Cops Took This Video Down. Surprise, it's back up.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the 2 issues. Why did you end up getting, I understand, 3 tickets that day? And secondly, what's this business of the Toronto police taking the video down? On what basis?
To be honest with you, I don't know why they would take it down. I'm almost certain that the Toronto Police did take it down, and they've taken down 5 of my videos. The 2 that I showed you before, I had to put them back up again. And when I do put them back up again, I have multiple police officers threatening me. I've had my life threatened. I've been told
By police officers?
Yes, I have. Wow. And I've been told that I should keep my mouth shut or I'll find myself in the lake down at Cherry Beach.
When you're filming in public, that doesn't even remotely come close to a copyright violation. I would argue if you're out on a sidewalk filming things in a public place and YouTube deems that to be a privacy violation, I would argue maybe that's 95% of the content of YouTube videos are at risk of being pulled down.
Exactly, yeah. I don't understand why some videos are allowed up. I just feel like I'm being targeted, as well as Rebel News. I feel that you've been targeted for years from the Toronto Police, as well as myself, because I know how they operate, I know what they're all about, and they do not want me out there.
Tell me, where does the brass play a role here, Jay? Are they turning a blind eye, or they just don't care how the rank and file operate? And let me say this. I want to be clear, folks. We here at Rebel News, we back the blue. I say that because this whole nonsense of defund the police, well, if we don't have the police laying down the law to the really bad guys, not the likes of Jay, then we have anarchy, we have the rule of the jungle. But clearly there are bad apples there. And Jay, I would like to think if I'm the brass, I want to get the bad apples out of the basket. I don't want to run interference for them.
They're turning a blind eye. I don't think they care. And I went through the same experience when I was a police officer. I went multiple times to different supervisors and inspectors and superintendents within my station, and all of my concerns were completely ignored.
And Jay, I don't get it. If I was a member of the brass, if I was the chief, I want all my officers to be the best of the best. I want them, beyond any suspicion that they're bending the rules or, God forbid, breaking the law. I can't understand the culture that is at place. By the way, in your 24 years at the Toronto Police Service, that's a long time. Did you notice the culture evolving or devolving, as the case may be?
Oh, 100%. When I first started as a police officer, they were very much helping each other. They were very much into, it was a brotherhood back then, and there was a thin blue line. Over the years, it's gotten progressively worse to the point where people just don't care anymore. Like, that's just the way policing is now. If somebody gets in trouble, they're out. And a lot of times the inspectors and superintendents will cover for them because a lot of people are friends in that organization. So it's police policing the police.
Back in March, outside the King Edward Hotel, and then at Nathan Phillips Square, I was arrested, handcuffed, frog marched into a paddy wagon, held for about 5 hours each time in a cell. And let's roll the footage, folks. I'm sure many of you are aware with this. The first time in March, it was obstruct police, even though I was just on the sidewalk trying to practice journalism. And the second time, and this is the most egregious thing of all, I was charged with trespassing on Nathan Phillips Square, quite literally the town square, in which there were more than 2,000 people there that day. Let's roll an excerpt of those 2 arrests, and we'll try to make sense of it on the other side.
King's Highway. I'm not going to move. What is going on now? We just want you. What's the problem? Guys, excuse me. We're trying to put him behind. Hey, that's my guy. That's my guy. Stop. Public safety, you have to say you. What are you taking? Hey, don't put your hands on me. I just want to make sure. Don't put your hands on me. Put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest for refusing to leave, okay? Refusing to view the wagon, Mr. Menzies.
Well, there you go, Jay. You had people on King Street in March, in Nathan Phillips Square, during the 6-month vigil of the Israel massacre of last October 7th, actually chanting genocide.
Yeah.
And yet, I don't even think I got a question out. It was almost though, on the suspicion I might ask an insensitive or impolite question, the police are going to arrest me so that the mob doesn't get further enraged. Is this what we see going on right now?
It's all coming from upper management. It is. And I watched a video a few weeks ago of a police officer speaking to a gentleman that I know, asking if they worked for you or they were with Menzies.
Oh, look, 4333.
Are you guys with Menzies?
4333. What's your name and badge number, sir?
That's my question.
What's your name and badge
I'm
number,
not answering.
Are you guys with Menzies?
If you
Are you guys with Menzies?
name and badge number, I keep driving. I don't talk to cops who don't identify.
So they target certain people that they want to silence, and I just happen to be one of them.
In my case and yours, what is the unspoken strategy at play?
It's all coming from the brass. They don't want people to speak out about them, especially at this time because of all the gun violence in Toronto. They don't want people giving them a negative view of them again. And like I said, you as well as myself are targets. And I watched that video and I was truly disgusted by it when they arrested you both times.
What are you hoping to accomplish via your videos from Mad Lab Press?
I just want them to change. I want them to change the way they treat people on the street, and I want them to change exactly what we're talking about now. And journalism, it has to be allowed out there. It can't be suppressed, and it can't be put under the carpet. It has to be brought out, and the bad apples of the Toronto Police, not just the Toronto Police, but all police services throughout Ontario, people have to see what's going on out there.
Gotcha. And Chief Demkew, if you're watching this, maybe you have to change your ways. Maybe that explains the problems we're in terms of the genocidal chants that ring out every weekend in the Greater Toronto Area, which is to say maybe you should lay charges against the hooligans and not, deliver them coffee and Timbits on a cold day. And as far as Jay is concerned, as far as Rebel News is concerned, what's that phrase again? Oh yes, don't shoot the messenger.